My friends, I want to start today by sharing a simple but profound story. A man was out walking through the woods one day, enjoying the sights and sounds of nature. As he came around a bend in the trail, he stumbled upon a colossal grizzly bear. The man froze, realizing this powerful beast could tear him apart with ease. But then he remembered an adage that you should never turn and run from a grizzly, as that can trigger its predatory instincts. So instead of fleeing, the man stood his ground, made himself appear as big as possible, waved his arms wildly, and let out a mighty roar. To his astonishment, the grizzly backed away slowly and eventually lumbered off into the forest, leaving the man unharmed. Now, why do I share this story? Because it perfectly illustrates the power of acting as if that man knew the reality that the grizzly could have destroyed him without breaking a sweat. But rather than accepting that perceived limitation and giving in to fear, he acted as if he was the dominant force in that encounter. He projected strength, power, and ferocity. And incredibly, this allowed him to overcome what seemed like an insurmountable obstacle. You see, my friends, this principle of acting as if is one of the most potent tools we have to break through the self-imposed limits that so often hold us back in life. We are frequently shackled, not by our actual capabilities, but by our perception of what is possible based on past experiences, assumptions, and we become masters of acting as if and unlock our vast unutilized potential. We must diligently undermine these false limits by acting as if they simply do not exist. And the beautiful irony is that by acting as if we have no limits, those perceived limitations begin to dissolve and crumble away. Let me give you another vivid example that hits closer to home for many of us. The area of public speaking. Few things strike more paralytic terror into people's hearts than having to give a speech or a presentation in front of a crowd. The fears kick in, what if I freeze up? What if I make a fool of myself? What if my mind goes blank? I have a friend who used to be incredibly anxious about public speaking. He would be gripped by intense anxiety and panic attacks leading up to any speaking engagement, but one day he decided he had to overcome this immense psychological block. So before his next speech, he kept telling himself, I am a gifted, commanding public speaker. I captivate audiences effortlessly. My words flow like water off a duck's back. In other words, he acted as if he was a world-class orator, even though his experience up to that point told him the opposite. And you know what happened? My friend delivered what he said was the best speech of his life up to that point. His words were passionate, articulate, and impactful. He connected with the audience in a way he never had before. All because instead of succumbing to the artificial limits imposed by his fears, he acted with the bravery and confidence of someone who knew he could be brilliant on that stage. These examples underscore one of the primary reasons we must learn to act as if. Because we all too often underestimate our own capabilities based on our past experiences and self-perceptions. How many of you have told yourself at some point, I'm just not good at things like that, or that's too hard for someone like me, or I'll never be able to do that? By framing things in those terms, we are automatically placing limits on ourselves. We are resigning ourselves to remaining small, playing it safe, and never unleashing our spectacular human potential. But think about this for a moment. When we were infants first learning to crawl and eventually walk, did any of us quit after a few failed attempts because we concluded that walking must not be for someone like us? No, we kept trying, stumbling, fall down and getting back up, acting as if we could absolutely conquer the mastery of walking, even though all evidence pointed to the contrary at first. We must learn to tap into that unrestrained confidence and belief we had as children. We must learn to act as if nothing can stop us from achieving any dream or goal we set for ourselves. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking is, sure, it's easy to talk about acting as if, but how can I sustain that mindset in the face of continued setbacks, disappointments, and failures? That's a fair question, but the answer is that acting as if is not just a passing attitude, It is a way of life and way of being that takes consistent practice and nurturing, but it is absolutely worth the effort because living this principle creates a positive feedback loop of belief, action, and results that build upon themselves. Let me share a story with you to illustrate. There was once a young man growing up in the inner city who had a dream of one day becoming a wealthy businessman and philanthropist. But all around him were poverty, crime, and hopelessness that would seem to make such ambitions unrealistic. But this young man made a decision early on to act as if there was nothing that could stop him or limit his potential for greatness despite his circumstances. He didn't just wish for success. He began carrying himself with the confidence, focus, and work ethic of someone who had already achieved it. He developed the habits, mindset, and self-discipline of a highly successful person. And when he faced obstacles, as we all inevitably do on the path to any great dream, rather than accepting those roadblocks as affirmation of his limitations, he acted as if they were mere temporary setbacks that could be overcome. And incredibly, by maintaining this mindset, those challenges and setbacks did start to clear away. Opportunities began opening up. People started taking notice of his talent and drive, and one step led to the next. The result? That young man went on to found one of the most inspiring and impactful nonprofit organizations in recent history, transforming the lives of millions around the world by acting as if there were no limits to his potential. His name was John Gardner, and the mighty organization he started to build brighter futures for disadvantaged youth is the International Association of Student Councils and Honor Societies. By acting as if nothing could stop him, he shattered every limitation that could have held him back and achieved greatness beyond his wildest dreams. Now that's an extreme example, but it vividly shows what can happen when we tenaciously and consistently act as if our potential has no limits. I want you to take a moment now and reflect on the biggest goals and dreams you have for your life. What incredible heights could you scale if you truly removed all self-imposed limits through your mindset and actions? What fulfilling feeling does it give you to imagine acting as if achieving those grand visions is inevitable? Don't let fears, doubts, pessimism, or perceived shortcomings hold you back any longer. Resolve today to let go of the limits you've accepted in the past and act as if you are unstoppable in the relentless pursuit of your highest ambitions and ideals. Does this mean everything will instantly become easy or that you'll never face adversity again? Of course not. But acting as if transforms the way you approach and respond to challenges. Rather than letting them stop you, they become temporary obstacles to overcome. Rather than seeing barriers, you begin seeing opportunities. After all, think of the challenges faced by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and all those who acted boldly in the fight for civil rights in the 1950s and 1960s. They were confronted by institutionalized racism, prejudice, hatred, and even violence at every turn. Yet they acted as if justice, equality, and human dignity were not only possible but inevitable. Dr. King did not achieve his incredible impact through meek acceptance of limitations, but by acting as if every human being deserved the rights enshrined in the U.S. Constitution regardless of skin color. And as we have since seen through the immense progress that has been made, their bold actions as if had resounding impacts far beyond their lifetimes. By acting as if institutionalized racism's days were numbered, they began to make that seemingly impossible vision a reality. The 26th President of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt, was known for his unshakable belief in unlimited potential and acting as if greatness were a certainty. Here's what he wrote. "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly." Roosevelt captured the spirit of acting as if that by daring greatly, striving valiantly, and believing in our unlimited potential, we can live triumphant lives of high achievement regardless of the final outcome or results. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking, this all sounds great in theory, but how do I actually start transforming my mindset and acting as if more consistently? The first step is to vividly reaffirm that you have immense reservoirs of untapped potential within you. Reflect on the abilities and talents you already possess in at least some areas of your life. Then consider how much more you could expand and amplify that excellence if you released all limits on what is possible. Next, set clear goals and visions for grander levels of fulfillment, achievement, and impact in the areas most important to you. And don't hold back. Set targets that may seem audacious or implausible right now based on your current circumstances. You're not being arrogant. You're simply acting as if. With those exciting goals affirmed, now start acting as if their attainment is assured. Not just fleeting thoughts, but sustained beliefs, habits, and actions. Carry yourself with the poise, confidence, and capabilities of someone who has already achieved those grand visions. Make acting as if your default way of being. And critically, anytime you catch yourself reverting back to old fears, doubts, and limiting thoughts or behaviors, immediately reject them as disempowering half-truths. Replace them at once with empowering reminders that you are acting as if you have limitless potential. Act with bold conviction, then watch how potential begins turning into reality. Now, I know maintaining this mindset requires diligence and perseverance, especially early on when it runs counter to so many ingrained patterns, assumptions, and previous experiences. There will be times you stumble or falter, which is perfectly normal and human. When that happens, don't beat yourself up or allow those missteps to gain psychological footholds. Simply reset, refocus, and act as if surmounting those setbacks is assured. As I look out at this room today, I see people from all walks of life and all sorts of backgrounds, circumstances, and levels of experience. And yet what I also see in every single one of you is vast, untapped potential waiting to be unlocked. Each of you has unique gifts, talents, ideas, and dreams that only you can bring to the world. The only question is whether you will timidly accept the limits you perceive around you or boldly cast them aside by acting as if your potential is truly limitless. As the legendary motivator Earl Nightingale once says, whatever we plant in our subconscious mind and nourish with repetition and emotion will one day become a reality. So plant the potent seed that you are someone who acts as if you can achieve greatness and shatter any limitations holding you back. Nourish that mindset daily with conviction, consistent action, and all the enthusiasm you can muster. And I promise you that if you persevere in wholeheartedly mastering the mindset of acting as if you staunchly refuse to be derailed by setbacks or negated by skeptics and critics, then inevitably you will start experiencing profound breakthroughs, growth, and achievement beyond what you currently believe is possible. One breakthrough will lead to another in an upward spiral, as acting as if unleashes compounding levels of confidence, courage, and momentum in your life. Old limits will drop away as new exciting realities and fresh levels of human potential come blazing into view. Acting as if someone of limitless potential creates a powerful self-fulfilling prophecy. So make that commitment today, my friends. Shed any limits, doubts, or fears that have restrained you up until now. Give yourself the great gift of releasing your full human potential and daring to live a life of unbounded achievement, growth, and fulfillment. Simply start by acting as if nothing can limit your potential. The path to greatness in any field or any area of life begins with taking that first brave step forward and acting as if. Nothing can stop the person who refuses to be stopped. Nothing can limit the potential of the person who rejects all limits. With commitment, courage, and perseverance in acting as if, you can absolutely expand into the greatest version of yourself. So go forward with bold enthusiasm to start acting as if today. Don't let another year go by remaining stuck in self-imposed limitations. Instead, let this be the year you finally set yourself free to soar toward the incredible heights I know you are capable of. Nothing can stop you if you simply choose to act as if it is so. One of the most powerful ways to reinforce the mindset of acting as if is through the intentional use of affirming language and self-talk. The thoughts and words we choose to focus on have a profound impact on shaping our beliefs, emotions, and actions. We must be vigilant about eliminating any limiting, negative, or self-defeating language from our internal narratives. Phrases like, I can't, that's too hard for me, I'm not good enough, or it'll never work become self-fulfilling prophecies when we dwell on them. Instead, we need to consciously replace those disempowering thoughts with affirmations that are aligned with acting as if we have limitless potential. Start verbalizing statements. I am capable of achieving anything I commit myself to. Obstacles are just temporary. My perseverance is unstoppable. I have all the talents and abilities within me to create my dream life. I am acting with the mindset of someone who has already accomplished my grandest goals. The more you immerse yourself in affirmations like these, the more you begin reprogramming your subconscious mind to accept them as unquestioned truth. What you focus on and speak into existence has immense power. This is why, if you listen closely, those who consistently achieve at the highest levels tend to use very intentional, confident, and empowering language when talking about their ambitions and abilities. They aren't being arrogant. They are mastering the art of acting as if by using language aligned with limitless potential. Another key aspect of acting as if is actively seeking out environments, relationships, and situations that reinforce and inspire that liberating mindset. We are greatly influenced, whether we realize it or not, by the mental food we consume from our surroundings. If you spend the majority of your time around people who are cynical, negative, full of doubts, and preoccupied with perceived limitations, you will unconsciously internalize those limited thought patterns over time by osmosis. It becomes exponentially more difficult to maintain a mindset of acting as if your potential is unbounded. But when you purposefully expose yourself to compelling examples of people acting as if and achieving at the highest levels, you get an inspiring, energetic charge that propels your own efforts. Seek out role models, mentors, environments, and material that continuously remind you of what is possible. Read and study the philosophies of those who refuse to accept limits like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus. Learn from titans of acting as if like Oprah Winfrey, who shattered barriers with her mindset. Immerse yourself in any content that elevates your perspective toward acting as if nothing can limit your rise. Critically, be fiercely protective about who and what you allow into your proverbial mental garden. Just as you would protect a delicate seedling from harsh elements, nurture your mindset of acting as if limitless potential with utmost care and discernment. This protective nurturing extends to how you respond to inevitable critics, naysayers, and doubters. Throughout history, every person who acted boldly as if greatness was inevitable despite their circumstances faced a chorus of voices telling them it was impossible or they didn't have what it takes. When you commit to acting as if and start defying perceived limitations, you will undoubtedly be met with skepticism and attempts by others to revive your old fears and doubts. Their critiques and negative energy stems from their own limiting beliefs being challenged. But here's the beautiful thing. Their doubts only have as much power over your acting as if mindset as you choose to give them. You get to decide whether to accept those limits or charge boldly forward as if those voices were simply insecure background noise. Anytime you face pushback or pessimism, recognize it for what it is. Someone else's untapped fears projecting onto you. Then actively disregard those voices as distractions misaligned with your vision. Reaffirm that you are acting as if your boundless potential is fact, and their doubts are irrelevant fictions that cannot gain any traction. Stay grounded in your conviction by reminding yourself, of all the inspiring examples throughout history of those who acted as if despite overwhelming doubts, only to eventually manifest their once impossible achievements. Anytime the seeds of doubt start sprouting, aggressively replant those empowering reminders as if your success is predetermined. Additionally, regularly revisit and reaffirm your motivations for acting as if nothing can limit your potential. Connect deeply with the profound reasons and emotional energy driving your desires. What impact do you want to have on the world? How do you want to grow and challenge yourself? What would giving any power to limitations cost you in terms of lasting fulfillment? When you vividly reinforce those whys, the hows of acting as if become energizing necessities rather than draining disciplines. Your motivations create an inspiring source of fuel that continually reignites your commitment to acting boldly as if when challenges or doubts arise. Finally, acting as if requires the vulnerability to sometimes act ahead of your current competence and skill levels while maintaining faith that your capacities will expand to match your efforts. There will be times when your dreams demand you step into roles, situations, or skills that currently seem outside your capabilities based on your direct experience. Rather than letting that perceived gap limit you, act as if you already have the talents needed and adopt the mindset that your development will rapidly accelerate to meet those new challenges. You've heard the analogy of being a duckling being raised by eagles. When the young duckling witnesses those mighty eagles soaring to heights, it's never experienced. It has two choices: accept its perceived limitations as a ground dweller, or start acting as if it too can spread its wings and achieve soaring heights. By acting as if with conviction despite its current form, the duckling eventually undergoes a profound transformation into the eagle it always had the potential to become. That's the power of this principle when applied with courage and consistency. So today, choose to act as if your potential has absolutely no limits. Start carrying yourself as someone of ultimate confidence, resilience, and capabilities. Refuse to accept anything less than your grandest visions for fulfillment and positive impact. Let go of all past habits, assumptions, and experiences that could restrict you. Those limits only have the power you give them. You are a limitless creator with the power to transform any aspect of your inner or outer world. Act as if this is your truest self, and watch how rapidly your reality starts bending to align with that empowering new vision. I'll leave you with one final thought from the great Walt Disney, who embodied the principle of acting as if when it came to manifesting his impossible dream. All dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. Starting today, pursue your biggest dreams and highest ambitions with the courageous mindset of acting as if your potential has no limitations, because it is finally time to let your boundless capacity soar.